Bible is just about as wrong as it is possible for any document to be?
For fuck's sake!
They want to go ahead and they want to take this idea and talk about that as if it's real, as if that's what's real.
This is insane. Look at this vastness.
Hello and welcome to the Line Go Show, June 30th, 2013. And today's topic is the YouTube community and what it has become and what will it be and so on. And today we have Hogtie Champ, Aaron Greek Pumpkin, and the Realist Analyst.
All right, start it off.
By all means.
Oh, whoa, echo. There we go. Okay, fixed it.
So yeah, Hogtie, you there? Damn it. Every time this happens when I introduce someone, he's muted, I bet.
Oh, I have to log into the... Oh, fuck it. I don't even care.
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry, I had a little trouble unmuting.
Yeah, I knew it. I predicted it. So what do you think about the YouTube community, Hogtie?
Sorry, I didn't hear that. You've gone quiet on me again.
Wow, you're really echoing. The YouTube community.
Oh, I think I certainly wouldn't be the first to observe this, but it really the major part of the debate that I know had drawn me in, for example,
there's a weird ear-pitching noise coming from your...
Getting a lot of feedback.
Yeah.
Okay, how is it now? I just turned something else off.
Okay, it's good, I think.
Yeah, it's good.
Okay. Yeah, it seems to me like I remember really getting energized about the whole thing 3 or 4 years ago. I'll credit Thunderfoot's Why Do People Laugh at Creationists as being the thing that really kind of turned me on to it, because part of the country that I'm in, different country, I'm in Canada, and we don't really get a lot of, hardcore creationists. And the whole time I've been here doing different things, I've only once got into a conversation with a guy where a line came out where he says, well, if people came from monkeys, then how come they're still monkeys? You know, like, it's just so rare you bump into that. So watching Why Do People Laugh at Creationists kind of opened my mind to, hey, there are guys out there like Venom Fang X and Nephilim Free and whatnot. And it seemed to, at the time, be a really good platform for, well, one, the lulls. It's fun to sort of make fun of people's silliness, but also for legitimate science education. And I'm surprised how much I've learned, like in the first couple of years there. You know, I've got a science background. I mean, I would think, oh, I've got kind of a handle on this stuff, but then you'd be watching and go like, what? Birds are all descended from dinosaurs? What? I didn't know that. And you'd go and you'd look and, hey, that's kind of interesting. And there are a number of things like about Big Bang cosmology and, quantum theory and stuff that I was just never engaged in, that I actually got engaged in because of the rancorous debate between Christians, creationist Christians, and atheists. But having said that, I'm sure we've all noticed that things have really sort of, tamed, right? Like the creationists are still making videos. A lot of the big players have gone. Like Nephilim Free is kind of a dot on the horizon, doesn't really do much anymore. But there are other people that'll still kind of take up that gauntlet.
Well,
but you don't get...
Would you agree that was more of a 2008 phenomenon than a 2013 phenomenon?
Yeah, I would say 2012, I think 2011 it really went down, and 2012 was kind of the year that we all started to realize, like, hey, we're really starting to lose out on this. Like, where is the good science education on YouTube? And, you could talk to some of the people from the bigger channels that made a lot of videos, and they would just kind of say, well, it's all the same, like, look at Wildwood Claire. How many times has she quit? And I don't say that in an insulting or begrudging way, because I respect how long she's hung in there. But as kind of one of the last ones to really hang in and do regularly scheduled episodes, she's had to a couple times come out and say, I'm just running out of material. And I get that. I absolutely get that. You're just running out of jokes. because you're saying the same thing week after week and listening to them say the same thing, going on about polystrate fossils. Well, how many times can you rebut the same old polystrate fossil argument? And I think it's kind of taken a lot of steam out of the engines of a lot of the bigger atheist channels.
Well, that's why I don't make videos weekly. That's why I don't make promises. I mean, they say that that's a way to increase your viewership and increase stuff, but I feel like if I'm just, putting out flaccid material, then what's the point of me even having a channel? I like all my videos to be genuinely inspired. It's the same when I write music. I don't write uninspired music because it just sounds, plain to me. It doesn't sound like there's any intentionality in it. Just like, okay, we're doing this. If I made weekly videos or, video every whatever, I don't even know how people can keep fresh. I don't know how people can keep those ideas, because I honestly, there are some times where I just don't have anything to talk about,
Yeah, and I agree with you completely. I know that there's no way I could do it. When I was doing videos, I tended to do series. I may have a 4-part episode on something, and then I wouldn't do a video for months. And you sort of had to be inspired on the topic. I like your analogy to music, where you sort of are writing an album and you do that. But having said that, I just want to take care that I certainly wouldn't suggest, and I don't think you were either, that for example, Claire's material is flaccid. I think that the people who are able to maintain that schedule, generally speaking, are doing pretty well at it. I tend to think that if it were me, I just wouldn't be putting out the same quality as what I'd be getting doing, individual topics that I'd be interested in. But having said that, where does that leave us? I don't do content at all. So
you stop making content?
Oh yeah. Well, actually, I had stopped making content for a different reason. And maybe this is sort of worth mentioning too. That this is sort of a come and gone phenomenon. But there was a period of time. I think 2008 sounds about the right frame. Maybe 2009. Yeah, no, even later, where the false flagging or sort of the broader camp of what I might call censorship by fraud, that is where you knowingly misrepresent your concern about a video just to get that video off because you don't like the message in the video. So you go and you say, oh, I don't like this atheist saying that Christians are wrong about something, or this atheist trying to spread his evolutionist propaganda. So I want that video gone, so I'm going to flag it as obscene or flag it as violent. Or I'm going to put in a DMCA notification claiming that I have a copyright claim against it when you don't. So I referred to all those things as kind of censorship by fraud. And I lost several channels. I'll say 4 channels to censorship by fraud. And at the same time, we also, we had a baby around then, and it was just like I was looking at kind of how my time was going, and like how much time you put into a video. And all some creationist dink had to do was program his vote bot. They'd written this vote bot software years ago so that you could vote up your own videos.
Uh-huh.
And but with a very simple modification, you could change it so that it would 1-star or even flag somebody else's videos. And so all they had to do was just program their vote bot to vote down and flag this guy's video. So, you could put days of work into a video with the editing and even just thinking it through and what you want to say and have a really good message and be informative and funny, and then get through and do the editing and go back and watch it again and say, I don't like the timing on this part, and you tweak that. And then all the guy just has to program a vote bot, and one day you sign on to YouTube and you're looking at a big pink box that's telling you can't use your channel anymore. It's just fucking horseshit.
Is that, that's interesting. That's never occurred with me. Just never, I guess I'm kind of a late bloomer on everything, because I started in 2012, so.
Oh yeah. Well, I think, one of the things that happened in that era was a lot of people would complain that like, well, this isn't fair, and then you realize, well, YouTube's not even listening. And then the partners started going to these partnership meetings, and they would really hammer this as an issue. And I suspect that without any sort of comment from YouTube management or administration, they did look into the issue and tweak their system on how flagging is reviewed. Now for DMCA, it's a little trickier because they have to follow a particular legislated rubric. But we've become more educated about it. So, for example, if you put up a video that somebody doesn't like and they DMCA it, I can tell you how to get that video put back up and even how to have it stop so that they don't just keep DMCAing your material. So there's been some improvement in the system. But, yeah, before 2012, there was a fairly reliable scheme for taking down individuals off somebody else's channel. And if you knew how to time it right, you could even take down that whole channel.
Yeah, apparently Brett Keane was having this issue a lot. He's had tons of channels, and it's interesting to me that like really famous YouTubers like the Amazing Atheist never had his channel taken down or something like that.
I mean, did he get the banana video taken down?
Wait, you can't do anything about that shit. That doesn't have anything to do with YouTube. That's not a YouTube video.
Yeah. Well, the thing about the Amazing Atheist, and I mean, people tried to take down Fred Figglehorn, whatever the hell his name was.
That? Little kid with a camera.
Oh wait, is he the kid that the Atheist Experience talked about one show?
No.
Oh, no,
He's got nothing to do with any of the stuff we're talking about. Like, he doesn't do atheist stuff. He's some guy. He's at the point when he was doing this, he was like an early teenager. But then he used to speed up the video so his voice sounded all hot.
Oh, that Fred. Oh,
yeah.
Oh, the annoying Fred one. Oh, yeah.
Super annoying Fred. And people, I mean, there's certainly a set of people that love Fred, and I think he was one of the first people to hit 1 million subscribers or something like that. But he's a big channel. The thing about censorship by fraud and where it's really effective, there's kind of a margin of sort of your channel size. There's a region where you're vulnerable. Now, if you have a channel that you have only 2 videos uploaded, that channel can never be closed down by a false flagger because you simply can't earn enough strikes from it.
Oh, okay.
So you're saying, like, example, the Lion Ghost channel, it has, I think, 48 videos, if I remember correctly. That could be flagged enough that it would be taken down.
Well,
right,
anything 3 or higher.
Yeah, but then once you get over a couple million channel views, then you're immune to flagging because the other person simply can't dilute the pool enough, right? If you're Fred Figglehorn and he had 492 million views across his videos, so if you get upset with them, your vote bots simply can't work fast enough to turn the tide on all the 5-star ratings he was getting from the twits that were watching his video. But yeah, Lion Ghost channel, if you have, what did you say, 48?
I think 48, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, okay.
It's
So you
about
got,
48 to 50 right now.
Yeah, 4 dozen videos. If you have 4 dozen videos on your channel with anything less than 1,000 views on each of those videos, I'm not going to make this claim that I could do this today, but I certainly knew the recipe 3 years ago that it would probably take about 10 days, and you would just not be able to use that channel anymore. It'd just be gone. And I know this because I watched it, not because I explored how to do it, but because I watched it happen to my channels. And to see the intentionality behind it too, like the guy who's flagging your channels doesn't just rush and flag them all at once, but instead flags a bunch and then sits back and waits until you acknowledge notifications, and then flags a bunch more, right? And then sort of does it in waves. So eventually, I mean, there's a difference between having 10 videos flagged down on the same day versus having 3 flagged down that day, and then 3 days later 3 more, and then 3 days later 3 more, because to the YouTube algorithm of that time at least, it looked like you were a serious problem channel. So yeah, your channel back in the day could have been brought down fairly easily by somebody irritated with you.
I think, if I remember correctly, one video in the past history of the Lion Ghost show has been something bad. I forget what it was. One of them, but that was it. That's the most.
Yeah. Well, there is one improvement that YouTube has made to help protect channels, and that is both on the positive things like the view counters and the up-thumbing, and also on the bad things like the down-thumbing and flagging, is that it logs the range of IP addresses. So your vote bots would have to use different proxies for all these votes they're casting. Like, it used to be that if you just ran a vote bot and it went through and watched your own video 1,000 times, that would count as 1,000 views on your video. Even if it was watching them simultaneously, if you had a vote bot that opened up 20 tabs in the same browser window and loaded up your video in all 20 of those tabs and just downloaded your video 20 times, even though you're watching it supposedly 20 times concurrently, it would still count as 20 views. So that was kind of the basis for it. Well, now YouTube's gotten smarter, and they realize that 1,000 views from the same IP address doesn't count as 1,000 views.
Don't
So
views
it's the same
establish
thing flagging.
Don't views establish monetary gain too? Isn't it not? It's not just ad revenue. Isn't there monetary gain from view counts as well?
Yeah, and that's been part of. I mean, funny. This is kind of a side benefit because that was actually the major motivation to address this IP address issue. Was because it was very easy for people to claim there were more views on their channel by just by running these things. The solution, just as a bit of YouTube trivia, the solution, by the way, was to put in kind of you kind of got credit for. It's like when you go to your bank with you deposit at the bank machine a check for $1,000. Your bank might only give you credit for $500 until they've had a chance to let the check clear. So YouTube's the same way. They'll give you 300 views without double checking them for free. So the 300 views you get in the first couple of days, they count as 300 views. But then they go back and they have an algorithm that picks through all the IP addresses to see how many came from the same bank and how many came from known banks of proxy servers. And then it'll whittle them down from there.
I think they've changed that too recently. I think they made the view count higher because I've been going on videos and there are ones that say, oh, this has 1,000 plus views and whatever, but it has the plus sign to indicate that. What?
Oh yeah, that happened. That happened to the Line Go Show intro video. It got, it was like 301, and then it had the plus sign, and it had that for like a week, and I was like, what the hell is this? And they were like,
right. Well, I think what they, like I said, I think they extended the range to maybe 1,000 views because I remember I clicked on maybe the Amazing Atheist news video or something, and it had over 1,000 views on it already. With that, and it didn't stop at 300.
Oh, and it had the plus sign. They only recently added the plus sign, and at the same time, it may have been part of tweaking the actual base amount that it would give you, sort of on as an advance on trust, and that would make sense because even YouTube admits, like, that part of the way this story comes out was that guy, what's his name, Brady Heron, who does all those number file and computer file and periodic table, at Nottingham. He interviewed YouTube about it, and they wouldn't tell him how they did it or what they were looking for because they're afraid that somebody else will just come up with another form of fraud. But they did admit in the interview with him that the figure of 300 was completely just pulled out of someone's ass. They're just like, oh, I don't know how many, 300. And then the programmer put in, instead of saying, well, if it's greater than or equal to 300, just set it to 300. Instead, he put down when it's greater than 300, which is why you never see a video that has 300 views. It always says 301 or 302.
Right, yeah, no, I watched that number file video too. It's interesting though, because when you're pointing it out, you're saying that it wasn't exclusive to like religious people that were trying to promote censorship. Because you said there would be people trying to censor, for example, Fred or something like that.
Right. Oh well. Yeah, I think it's probably fair to mention here too, and I think a lot of times that you get a group of non-believers together, and you start discussing the situation on YouTube. We're always talking about our little corner of it, but I don't want to make the same mistake that the Christians make here. And I remember 2 or 3 years ago when Nephilim Free went off his nut about how all these atheists are doing this trolling, and all these atheists are attacking him. And just the way history repeats itself, this is something that Jason Burns has been on lately, is that these atheists all planned out these things. And he literally will say that, like, Aaron Raw and DPR Jones and Thunderfoot talked this guy into making this lewd video about him, or about Rand Campbell or whatever the story is. And it's like these atheists are doing it. And what they don't seem to realize, and I don't want us to make this mistake, is that the stupidest crap that happens in the sort of atheist versus Christian battle on YouTube, the stupidest crap that happens is brought about by trolls, right? And there are guys out there, they're just vandals, right? It's just like, why do people take a can of spray paint and spray paint "fuck you" on the side of a bridge, right? It's so that, because they get a kick out of, and Pumpkin sitting here going, I've done that. I can explain.
I don't do that. I just petrol bomb cars.
But it's just so that, because then they know that people are driving by and they look and they're like, oh, what kind of a little jerk would do that? You know, like they just want to irritate people. And there are these trolls that will, you know, I mean, certainly there were creationists that were, you know, like Nephilim Free went on a big flagging and DMCA tear. And Venom Fang X is famous for two very large DMCA tears that he went on. And they clearly did it as a form of censorship to prevent their own embarrassment. They will tell you that it's because they were trying to protect God's word, but that's horseshit. It's clear that they were personally embarrassed and wanted to fix it. But aside from that, there are other people, like, you know, this same thing is happening, you know, in another corner of YouTube. All of the Xbox 360 fanboys are pissed off about what the PS3 fanboys, is there PS4? Am I behind the times? But you know what I mean? Like,
but yeah, can you hold that thought? We have a caller, Amelia Hummel, if I'm pronouncing that correct. And it's from an anime.
Hello.
You guys hear me?
Yeah.
Hello?
Might want to put your mic up a bit.
Go on, wow, we got a troll. This
No,
guy.
I'm not a troll.
Wow.
We're not hearing you, Amaria Hummel.
You there, Amara? Yeah, Angry Pumpkin, yeah, that character.
You guys can't hear me when I check how I fix this.
You're very quiet. I think you'd have to turn it up a little.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
you're going to have to turn up your mic a little bit. Or speak up.
Let me check how I do this.
It's a little bit better now.
Okay.
Okay, so what do you want to ask?
Okay. This is the thing. I saw this news segment a while ago, and that was about religion and autism, and it basically said, people who got autism are most likely to be atheists.
I'm not autistic.
I don't understand how this...
Yeah, I don't understand. Is that like causation equals... Yeah.
Well, Amara sent this to me, and as I understand it, it's because of the way many autistics' minds work. They would see God and religion as a concept rather than a being, so it'd be harder for them to embrace it as truth and fact and religion. But
Well, I don't know anything about autism, so I wouldn't even have anything to say.
I just know one person who fits that.
Well,
that's it.
Well, the point is that okay, so most autistic people are atheists. That doesn't mean that most atheists are autistic, right? Is that the correlation you're trying to draw here? I don't understand.
As I'm aware, there was actually a preacher who tried making that correlation, saying that atheism is a form of autism.
Yes.
How is it? Okay.
Well, it basically said people who are atheists and were autistic or something in that way said they lack a part of the brain for faith, basically.
Oh, that's silliness. Because
yeah.
that's silliness. Because if you're talking about a physical element, first of all, you have to identify the physical element of the brain that is faith. They'd have to point, oh, that's the faith nodule of the brain.
That's
And
the
then-
Jesus medulla.
Right. Yeah. And then second of all, you'd have to establish how people just lose this, because there are people, most atheists, at least in my opinion, I don't know if this is accurate, but I think that most atheists deconvert, and certainly most atheists in North America deconvert. So at one point they had this part of their brain, then all of a sudden, you know, traumatic brain injury, and oh wait, hey, there's no more God. Like, really? What are you saying here? You know?
Yeah, I understand that, but the thing is, well, I did a little bit research to it myself actually, and I did find some things what overlap with this statement. Only the thing is, I actually live in an apartment building filled with people who are autistic, and there are literally 2 people here who do have a faith, and all the others are agnostic slash atheist. And I did the research, and it, yeah, what I found out was people who are autistic, what is that word? Do see God as a concept more than a person or something like that. So that was quite interesting.
Well, I don't know. I don't understand what we're talking about when we say people as autistic see things as concepts. What do you mean by that when you say that, Angry Pumpkin?
Well, to the best of my knowledge, do you know the way most of the devout Christians would say that they have a personal one-to-one relationship with God, because God is a being of which, God is someone they talk to and talks to them and helps them out, because God's a real person, it's a real being.
All right, yeah.
Whereas these autistic people don't see God as a being, they just see God as part of the concept of religion rather than a being at all.
Well, is
But
that what it is?
okay, I feel like there's a strange dichotomy going on here. When you talk about the difference between a concept and a being, are you talking about like an objective idea or a subjective idea? Are you saying they view it as subjective, not independent of one's perception? Because to me, doesn't everything register as a concept? The same with vision. Like when you talk about what you see, you don't actually see anything. Your brain produces an image from the information received, right? That kind of thing.
No, what it actually was they don't see the God as person, literally not as a person. They think it as more as an idea. That's what it actually said. And what I read, at least in the studies I did too, when I read the news segment, and well, it literally said they see God more as a concept and not as a personification of it, you know?
But this is what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say I think we're drawing a line between what a concept is, because everything is conceptualized. Everything is conceptualized. We have a concept of everything. Whether or not we recognize that concept as separate from us or not is what we're talking about, right? So like it's like a solipsistic kind of idea, whether or not this concept is you, part of you, or whether or not it actually exists independent of you, right? Because everything is essentially a concept. So I'm trying to understand what you mean, like when you say something conceptually, like something is in itself a concept as opposed to being existent. I mean, because like what would it take to make an autistic person, like I don't know, I can't speak for autistic people, I don't even know any autistic people, and I don't know enough about autism, but could an autistic person who is atheistic be convinced into theism?
Well, yes, I have seen it happen sometimes, actually, but even then, They don't see it as a person and more as a idea or something like that.
But I don't think anybody sees it as a person. They see it as superior to a person, right? They think about it
Well,
as
they give it the characteristics of a person. You know, that God can be happy, angry, sad,
I mean,
pissed off with the fact they're watching gay porn.
this
That sort of stuff.
this thing I got from Allison, Ali, whatever the hell, which is a similar article, says that recently the cognitive science of religion has emerged as a research program in which religion is understood as a product of cognitive aspects of the mind, such as the exaggeration of the normal human ability to infer agency, exaggeration of the normal human ability to infer, I can repeat that, impose patterns on noise, and infer other mental states, which is interesting.
Well, I'm still doing research to it, but I actually wanted to know you guys' opinion about it. So yeah.
well, I just don't think it's particularly relevant whether or not people who are autistic or atheistic or not. I don't. To me, it doesn't seem like it's particularly relevant. You know, like so what? Like I'm just trying to understand when you say the way they think of it, like because I'm just trying to identify with myself whether or not I think of it the same way. Do I think of it as a concept? But when can you not, Angry Pumpkin, to address your point when you said they don't think of it as when they personify it or they anthropomorphize it? Is there not anthropomorphic concepts?
Well, yeah, there's anthropomorphic concepts. There are concepts like that, but I think the concept they're speaking of in the article and the studies would be non-anthropomorphic concepts. Bear in mind, I am straddling the line between drunk and hungover at the moment, so...
Hogtie, did you hear what we're talking about? Hogtie?
Yeah, I caught most of it. And I do kind of get the point. It doesn't really matter what autistic kids really, like we're not going to base our decisions about what's rational and what isn't on what autistic kids say. But it's certainly an interesting piece of puzzle. I think where the issue kind of resonates for me is hearing, again, I'm going to mention Nephilim Pre again, probably best advertiser at this point, but I remember he made a set of videos a few years ago where he really took the position very strongly that, atheism is not the default position, that babies are not born atheists, that in fact we are all born with a natural instinct for a creator God, and that the atheistic beliefs are actually a perversion, a way of avoiding what we all know to be true. And I think, well, that sort of makes sense.
So is Neff doing presuppositionalism right there?
When is Neff not doing presupposition?
I know, but being actually saying...
Can I interject? Okay, I'm just going to read the first line of what it says in Wikipedia, and this, I'm just trying to find like a rational link between these two. Say there's some correlation there or something. I'll accept that. I'll give it that. But when I read the first line of Wikipedia, and I could, someone could, give me their information on what autism is, because I don't think that this is infallible or anything like that. I'm just saying, when I typed it in, it says autism is a disorder of neural development characterized by impaired social reaction and verbal and nonverbal communication, and by restricted, repetitive, or stereotyped behavior. And I think I should read more about the diagnostic requirements of what is considered autism. But how is it at all relevant to the belief whether or not someone is antisocial or asocial? In a sense, they don't communicate well, and there's something that prevents their brain, a neural disorder that prevents their brain from communicating well. What does communication have to do with religion? Does that mean that
could be Asperger's?
Does that mean that God has an impairment in talking to these autistic people because they can't understand? Or what? I don't understand. I don't know how you could even bring a correlation between those two besides a sort of statistical phenomenon, It just so happens to be coincidentally, right?
Well, I take your point on that,
Yeah.
but Bod to Bits did a fantastic video about how the language, the portion of your brain which deals with language, storing names for basically everything, changes how you perceive color. Like for us, green is just this massive, broad spectrum. But in other cultures that use different languages, there's hundreds of little variations of green, which will be as distinct as, say, I don't know.
The letters of the alphabet.
Yeah.
Well, more like
there's
orange and red,
distinct-
but yeah.
But I mean,
Yeah.
that's not exactly
But
descriptive.
Well, I mean, no,
As
that's
it
not
passes-
necessarily accurate. When we talk about green, but if you open up a Crayola crayon box, there'll be a 1,000 different colors, or like 64 different colors, right? They have those 64 different colors, and there'll be all sorts of shades of green, but green is the general typification of a thing. But when we refer to green, everyone has their own different perceptions.
Well, where does green end and blue begin?
Oh, strife! Come on now. But that's what I'm saying. Like we have specifications for different subdivisions of green. Like we have forest green or like jade. We have different colors, and those are in our language. So it's not. I mean, I don't know. I'd have to see.
I see what you mean, but he used data gathered from a study of people were presented with a circle. When I say circle, it was a broken ring of color, and they were asked to pick out the color which didn't match. And the one that he showed was green, which is why I keep talking about green. And it was a fairly light shade of green, and then top left was a brown square. So obviously everyone, well, all of the English speakers would point out and say, well, this is the odd one out because it's brown and not green. And then they were shown another ring of broken colours, but they all looked the same, and they were again asked to point out the one which doesn't match. And there was indeed in the same place, there was a colour which didn't match. It was a different gradient. But when they presented it to people of a tribe in Africa, which name completely escapes me, they would completely zero in and spot it out. To us, it looked like just the exact same colour, but to them it was as different as green and brown.
But
what I say for that is, if this disconnect can be between colours based on your language, it could be for other things. Like, for example, in the Wikipedia article you said that it also impairs social skills, and religion is a huge part of society and social roles.
Yeah, and that's where I was going to with my answer, and that's why, I mean, again, I preface it by saying I don't think that anyone should decide sort of factually whether God exists or not based on, there's a study of these autistic kids. But it does speak to the route of how does our understanding about an existing God, a creator God, how does it actually get through to penetrate people's psyche, and how does that understanding really develop? And guys like Neff would argue that we're all born with it, and then some of us fight to lose it because we don't want to be judged. Well, that doesn't at all explain why you have these children that don't really latch onto the concept. But a different view is that we come to know the God character because of ample description of his nature through our culturing. And that's why Christians all see God like the Christian God, and Muslims all see God like the Muslim God, and and so on for every other culture on the planet. Except for the autistics, who don't really latch on, because remember that describing the character of God, you have to really appeal to personality, right? Because you can't say, well, he's fairly tall, he's got red hair, and he shaves like this. Like, you can't give that sort of description you normally give of people. You have to describe God by his nature and appeal to a lot of attributes of personality, which to varying degrees, different forms of autism lead to significant impairment in really coming to connect with other people's personalities. especially a person that you can't see. It's just somebody being described to you. They really struggle with that.
Which is one of the things I find interesting, is the fact that there are, and I realize some people do address this, but many Christians find it almost impossible to explain why they'll say that, or some will say that everyone has this inbuilt need to reach God and yada yada yada, like you were saying about Nephi, but that they don't understand that there's other religions, and the fact that there are hundreds of thousands of religions, and they're all different and similar in some ways, different in others, but that there's these vast differences, that could be a sign that, hey, religion may not be the way to go here.
Well, I just I don't know. It would be interesting to hear someone like Sai talk about, whether what he thinks of it, because I haven't really thought about what he thinks about other religions, or I haven't really heard what he thinks about other religions. So that would be interesting to see what a presuppositionalist would say about the concept of other religions, and how does the Quran say the same thing? Does the Quran say that there is like one true God and it is the God?
It says it's the last word of God, I think. Yes.
Yeah, it says that Jesus wasn't the Son of God. He was just a really, really good guy who happened maybe to be a prophet.
Right, and on the nature, well, yeah, actually they do revere him as a prophet. They don't really downplay Jesus at all. It's the reason Christians kind of imply that they downplay Jesus is because they don't see Jesus as a piece of God, or God in a Jesus suit or anything like that. But they do have great reverence for Jesus. But your question about the nature of God is that the Quranic descriptions of Allah are pretty much the same. Remember, Allah is just their word for God, the same way that the Christians don't say Yahweh, right? They say God. So the Quranic description of God is pretty much on par.
What the weird thing is, though?
But does it say that, like, this is the word of God and this is all true, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's inerrant. As a matter of fact, they've actually cornered the market on the inerrant holy book. They've done an even, like, you can listen to really good, Bible apologists, and how they say, oh, it's the inerrant word, and anytime you think that you see a contradiction, it's because you don't really understand. The Quran actually takes it one step further, and actually makes
that no
claims.
one will understand this book, I think, except for Yahweh, except for Allah himself. Because
Well, no, they do believe that believers are capable of understanding the book, but they sort of view it almost like a magical mystery book. Okay, you know the story of Joseph Smith with the gold plates, right? Only Joseph Smith could read the plates, and he had to use the special seer stones. And anybody else who looked at these gold plates, not that anybody ever saw them, but they would just see gibberish on these plates. And that's the way they look at it. They say, like, a non-believer who looks at the Quran just sees letters and words, and the meaning isn't present for them. It's only when you truly believe can you actually understand what's written there. So this is the great defeater, purportedly, the great defeater for a non-believer who says, well, look, I've been reading the Quran, and here's something that is wrong in the Quran, something that would guide me to not believe it. And they'd say, well, you already don't believe it, so you can't argue what's against it because you don't believe it, so you can't even understand it.
Wait, wouldn't that be a good argument to bring against a presuppositionalist, though? Wouldn't you say that, okay, it says the same thing in the Quran, and Jesus is not God in the Quran, so why do you go back to the Bible and why not to the Quran? Well, what do you think they would say?
I've tried it, and I can tell you why it doesn't work. And it's straight up thick-headedness on their part. But I've tried. I've said, okay, look, you're trying to tell me that the Bible is inerrant, and you offer up this explanation that if I don't get something that's on the page, it's because I don't believe and don't really have my heart open and that sort of thing. The thing is, I hear the same thing from the Mormons about the Book of Mormon. I hear the same thing about Muslims about the Noble Quran, and their response is to say, yeah, but those aren't real holy books. And then so I will respond with, well, how am I supposed to know the difference? Like, you need to present to me that the Bible is somehow a leg above these other holy books in order for your argument to be convincing. And they'll always say one of two things. If they're losing and they don't give a shit, they'll just say, well, no, it's not up to me to prove anything to you. I don't, it's not, the Holy Spirit will open your eyes or he won't. It's not up to me. And it's a total fucking cop-out. But the other thing that they will say is, no, I can tell you how the Bible is different than the Quran and the Book of Mormon.
Jesus
and then they'll go ahead and say, yeah, right. And they'll give you that. And then what they'll do, and they don't realize they're doing exactly the same things that a Mormon would do or a Muslim would do. And they will just say, well, I can tell you why my holy book is different. Look at what it says. And they will say, Jesus died from us. He's the only one to have resurrected.
Muhammad went to heaven, they'll say.
And
well, except for the fact that there was a
the
couple
claim
other people, even in the Bible, that resurrected. They always seem to forget that.
Well, no, there's a response to that too, and that is like you're thinking for example, Lazarus. I think is probably the most famous. He was revived or resuscitated. The word resurrection to a Christian doesn't simply mean coming back to life. And I've only recently learned this. This is why they take exception to this criticism. Because if you think Lazarus resurrected, then you don't know what resurrection means. Lazarus was revived only to die again, whereas Christ was wholly resurrected and lives on forever, you see, is what they say. But in any case, so they'll retell that story and say, well, that's why it's different, even though it's in a number of other holy books that their fancy people also resurrected or rode a horse into the sky, as Muhammad did. But then they'll also say, well, what about the prophecies? And then you'll end up being embroiled in a conversation with them because they've been told so many times that there are hundreds of prophecies in the Bible, and each and every one of them were fulfilled by Jesus. And no other holy book can make this claim. And they're wrong on all of those scores.
But why would that matter? Isn't that providing evidence, which you're not supposed to do? Doesn't that put God on trial when you say, oh, well, we have to look to the veracity of the scripture, right? But isn't that what they argue against? Isn't that what they say? They say, oh, but that's putting God on trial. I don't have to provide evidence. So it shouldn't matter, because you shouldn't have to put Allah on trial for the same thing, right? It says in the book that it's the Word of God and it's inerrant and all this bullshit, the same as in the Christian Bible, right? As far as I understand. So why should you put God on trial and look for his prophecies? You shouldn't, because it's Allah. You shouldn't put Allah on trial. Why can't you just say the same thing? Use their bullshit.
That's why I say exactly, and that's why I say they go one way or the other. They either say, well, what about the prophecies and what about blah, 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 or they will say, no, it's not my job to prove it to you.
Yeah, I don't know.
I've got to go. My phone's going off, and I need to answer it. So,
all right.
Goodbye.
See ya.
I got through. Thanks for you guys' opinion. I really appreciate it.
All right, yeah. Have a good one.
So, what were you saying about YouTube community, Hog Tie, that you left off when you fell off the call? Hog Tie? Well, from what I know is realistic. Wouldn't you say that nowadays the YouTube channels that are around still, that are like creationist channels, are only the ones that actually do a spam, I guess you would say, like a spam of videos?
I don't know. I actually got spammed with a Muslim video the other day.
You did?
Yeah, it was interesting. I didn't watch it. I just told, I wrote the guy, he was just like, are you really happy? And, and then he's talked all this stuff about Allah and Islam and all this stuff. And I just wrote him back and I said, I'm a happy atheist, thanks. And then I left it at that.
Hawks, are you there? Did we lose him?
It seems like we lost him.
I'm still here, but I got my hands full with something here, so I'm still listening though.
Okay.
Well, I said, what was the thing you missed that you were saying before you were cut off?
I think he's busy.
Yeah, no, seriously, I do have my hands full here, so you gotta let me deal with this. I'm still gonna listen, but I gotta get this taken care of.
You can't talk though. Miss me someone.
Well, I would say that I haven't I haven't noticed anything. Well, because I guess I started so late, right? I wasn't into the YouTube atheist thing until, like I said, 2012. So I haven't noticed anything different. But I was talking to Chicky Vinto about it, and he was telling me that his stuff has died off. He said YouTube's been dying off as far as atheism goes. And I guess I could understand that. Like I said, to me, it could be just recycled arguments, because to me, it seems like everything that I've ever said has been said 1,000 years ago. The only interesting thing about YouTube, the only thing interesting about anything anymore is not the philosophical discoveries, because to me, I don't think there are any philosophical discoveries anymore. To me, it's just the scientific discoveries that garner interest. Everything else, like I don't know. I don't know why someone would subscribe to my channel unless they find the way I present my philosophy entertaining. If they don't, then I wouldn't know why.
Yeah, that's
Anyway.
I mean, that's agreeable. I mean, this channel hasn't... Oh, wait, Donald wants to come in.
Okay.
Give me a sec. I hate this thing. I cannot add people to group calls anymore without pressing this stupid thing. There.
Hey guys.
Hello.
Hey, if you don't mind, I'd like to put my 2 cents in the conversation. I mean, I may not be a main player in YouTube, but I can tell you from an observer, I think one of the downfalls, because when I first started going on YouTube and not just watching stupid shit, like that's on 90% of the videos on YouTube, if it's not someone breaking a leg or being completely retarded, it's either news or the battle between atheists and Christians. And I say that very loosely because of the fact that it's not every single Christian and every single atheist that battle. It's those who, it's getting to the point where it's even happening amongst yourselves. And I say that Christians and atheists alike. You've got different perspectives. Like, for an example, this whole, you're not going to say names? Does it matter if I say names or not?
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Okay. Huh?
Doesn't matter.
Okay. Live Life 8072 and Skeptic Heretic. I watched their 2 videos last night, and, well, not last night, a couple days ago, because Live Life is starting a new video series about how Christianity is a mental fucking disorder. And, well, apparently, and he's going to, he did an overview video, and Skeptic Heretic watched the overview video, and he just went off on Live Life. Well, I watched both videos, and I even watched the reason why he wrote the video, or did the video, Skeptic Heretic. I like both of them to a certain degree. And, it just, and with what Live Life did for a while there, and with the Drama Gate, I thought that was fucking stupid. I mean, that causes diversity. Why would you want that in a group?
Well, I mean, I think they were just accentuating diversity that they thought was already there.
Well, I didn't watch the whole. I saw the main video of what Live Life and the other people that was involved in his side of it, and then I saw the aftermath, pretty much, because I could care less if there's disdain between others, because I mean, life's too short to be arguing over frivolous crap. And to me, the whole debate between Christianity and atheism is a fucking, and I say atheism not as a religion, but just as a group. The whole debate about God existing for others is futile.
Well, okay, hold on. Now, what is frivolous depend on person? Like, what? Like, how would you define frivolity? Like, I don't.
Okay, let me put it to you this way. If, say, Group A, because I don't believe in lumping everybody in one group. I'll just say Group A is atheist. They do not believe God exists because there's no proof for it. Now, if there was proof given and it was acceptable by that atheist, then he or she would believe that God exists. Okay, but going off the argument that you've got atheists out there that will say, you know what, you're a fucking idiot for believing in something that there's no proof for. Okay? Then you got the Christian the atheist on the other side of it that believes it's let them be. And those people don't sit there and, talk till they're blue in their face. They state their points and they go on with their life. But when you constantly have that diversity in that group, of course you're going to, just like in Christianity, there are thousands of denominations of Christianity because of the same reason. I look at it from the perspective that, if you truly, without a matter of doubt, that there's no evidence for God, why the fuck would you waste your time and argue with somebody over it? Now, with that being said, you've also got the fundamental Christians that are out there that give you guys plenty of evidence that Christianity is insane because of the fundamentals. But they're a minority. They're not the majority. And that's why I'm so adamant about making people realize that there are other Christians like me out there. And so the only thing that bothers me is that the reason why there's so much drama is because they can't let it go. If someone fucking says they believe in God, that's their business. Okay? And then go about your business. But no, you got to stop and say, well, there's no evidence. And then you were bringing up philosophy. You've got philosophy of every school of thought that will never correlate with one another. And because of that is why there's so much drama. That's the way I see it.
Yeah.
And
but I just okay, hold on. There's a lot to cover in everything you're saying. First of all, you'd have to say that you'd have to explain why people shouldn't create drama, because there is no reason that they shouldn't. What if someone likes drama? What if someone enjoys going around and telling people that they're stupid for their beliefs? You would have to explain why someone ought not do that. That comes to the kind of is-ought dilemma in philosophy. So I mean, if it doesn't fit your individual, if it doesn't fit your individual desired accomplishments in life, then that's only time you ought not do something. But to me, you're saying okay. To me, it sounds like you're saying there shouldn't be fervent atheists who go around trying to convince people because it's other people's business. That's to me what it sounds like. But why should they care whether or not it's their business? To them it is their business because they want to convince other people.
Right. Okay. Now, with that being said, I'll lead off into something else and correct me if I'm wrong. And if I'm wrong, I want to know that I'm wrong. That way I can change my view. Okay? But if I understand logic and how it dictates, it's the idea that insanity, as I understand it, would be considered doing the same thing over and over and over again, hoping for a different response. Is that correct?
I've heard one definition of that. I don't think that's a clinical definition, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to go with no, just straight up no. That's a joke, right? It's like a coffee mug type of observation.
Yes, but I mean,
the only reason I say that, if you're going to connect it to the recent debate with Live Life and what's his name, which I'll admit to not watching. I watched the first 5 minutes of Live Life and I just went, and just stopped watching it.
Right.
Anyway, go ahead.
Okay, so, but how I understand it, isn't it a waste of time logically if, say for an example, you don't believe heaven or hell exists, okay? Which is the general census that I've gathered from watching the Magic Sandwich, discussing it with you guys, discussing it with other atheists, that the general census is heaven and hell does not exist. There's no proof of it.
Wait. I'll be the first atheist to say it exists
Okay.
as a concept.
Strife, let him go, man.
I know. But sorry to note, but on that, I got a caller coming in.
Okay. Let him finish what he was saying, because I want to talk about this.
Well, Donald,
Okay.
is it okay if I invite the guy in first, and then you can...
Oh, I don't care.
Yeah. I'm going to first invite 13 heathens in. Just
All right.
3 seconds.
All right, what were you saying, Donald?
What I was saying is that, I personally, and I think of myself a pretty logically thinking person. And if I argue with somebody till I'm blue in the face, I stop arguing about that topic. And I'm one to love debate. I love debating. I love discussing things with people so I can educate myself and learn things that I didn't know in previously. But when it comes to belief structure, I don't see how the argument is still around if there's so many people that just live their life believing there's a heaven and hell. Why does it matter if someone who doesn't believe it exists is going to verbally bash another person?
All right, here, I'll address your point.
Before you do, I just want to make the reason why I say that. On the Magic Sandwich, the last show I ever went to, Aaron Ra met this Muslim guy at the Dublin Convention of Atheists, and he brought him on the Magic Sandwich show. And the last statement I ever heard was, why is it fair that us heathens should burn in an eternal hell? Well, if you don't believe it exists, why does it matter that person believes that? Okay, that's my point.
It does matter, though. It matters because it's a judgment on the person's character.
Not always.
Let me address. Okay, I'll bring up what you're saying when you're saying why do this if you're not gonna make any headway in the other person's mind, and I'll tell you exactly why. Because this is what I would do with Saitan Bergenkate, because I harbor no delusion that I will ever convince Saitan Bergenkate of anything, but I want to make an example of his stupid ass so other people can appreciate my arguments for their merit. So other people can see it and appreciate my arguments for their merit, and I can appreciate them while having them, and I could even test myself. So what you're talking about when you say expecting a different result by trying something 1,000 times, by trying the exact same thing 1,000 times, well, in conversations, I don't think that is necessarily applicable, because in conversations, they're always different. Every single conversation is different, even if it's about the same topic. That's like saying trying to accomplish, building a light bulb. If you go about it doing through several different avenues, you don't know what's going to be produced, but you have an idea in your mind of what you want to get to. So when you're talking, you're going over a divergency of topics, and you might be trying to hit a goal, but you're not using the same argument over and over again. At least I don't think that's what people do. And even to address on that point, to maybe that person just enjoys it, I would just enjoy making an example out of Saitan Bergenkate. I would enjoy making him look like a fool. That would be personal gratification. So that's why I would do that. I don't usually, moderates, I don't usually care what moderates think, even though, some moderates I really dislike. I think Inspiring Philosophy is a moderate, dislike everything about his philosophy and everything about that. And there's conflictual ideas, some things that you want to compete and maybe test yourself with, and maybe even attempt, because, all right, would it be insane for a track runner to run the same track over and over again, hoping to get a better time? Because I don't think it would. So to try to advance your argument to convince the same person, I don't think it would be insane. And that's where I'll leave that.
It's also a mischaracterization of insanity.
All right, right on. Let's get this fucking heathen going.
No, insanity is something very different, like Angela Yates that murdered her children by drowning them to try and protect them and killing them before the age of reason so they'd be protected from the influence of Satan. That's insanity.
Okay. Did you want me to respond to that?
No, that's actually just simply partially a commentary. I mean, the thing is, I understand full well that whether it be Christianity or any other belief or view of reality, there are going to be people that are going to do things that just don't make much sense. In terms of the view of religion as mental illness, there are people that do have very problems along those lines that if they are too religious or have too much of that influence in their life, it can lead to all kinds of serious issues pertaining to that. Then, of course, you have, I believe it's, Jerusalem syndrome, that the person goes to the Holy Land and ends up believing that they are, whether it be the Messiah or in even some cases the false prophet. There are some cases in which a lot of religiosity, an overabundant religiosity, can cause great harm to an individual. And I think this is part of why the atheist movement is important, to keep that kind of extreme religiosity in check, to try and give a reality check to those that are far beyond and need that little bit of reality to even have encouragement to your own religious community to pull them back a little.
In its sense, I guess people on YouTube, the atheist community on YouTube, is there to kind of push back the fundamentalists in the sense saying, you guys are spouting bullshit, and this is why you're spouting bullshit. I mean, that's what it used to be from what I've noticed. Like, like with the, why do people laugh at creationism and Aaron Rod's series of, oh God, it's been a while. What was it?
The falsehood.
Yeah. Falsehoods of Creationism, I think it was. Yeah, that was it. And the Thinking Atheists podcast and etc. Like, those things were made for that, which pretty much because when they were made, 2008-ish, you had Venom Fang, you had Neffy, you had Shock of God, you had Jason, you had P.B. Simmons, you had all those people who are complete nut jobs, who have a lot of followers, who have a lot of, a pull in the community, I guess you could say, of YouTube, in what they have.
Right.
You have one section of the Bible that's encouraging people to go out amongst the masses and preach the word, and another section that's telling them to pray in their closet and not be like the heretics and the Pharisees and Sadducees or whatever it is.
Right. Well, I want to address realist, and then I'll address what you said. Realist, I don't argue the fact that there's people that just love drama. It's just in their fucking DNA. They just have no choice but to want to expel into fucking drama. And with respect, you saying that it's a self-serving thing, and I think a lot of it is self-serving, not just for you, but even on the Christian's perspective. Because, me personally, if I started arguing with somebody and take away from the religion and the non-religious perspective, but I argue with, say, my son, who, after explaining to him all the results from having listened to his stupidity in his choices, and finally get to the point where, what I'm telling you is real, it's going to happen, and you're not listening to me, so guess what? You're going to have to live your life and find out that what we said was true, okay? I got to the point where, and because of my kids is why I'm at this point in my life where, arguing the fact, the proof of God or non-proof of God or, the evidence that speaks for itself type discussions, I got over it quick because it's not worth it. It's not worth me trying to repeat myself over and over and over and over again. Just like someone like yourself who wants to prove your point or prove your aspect of it, and the person that you're speaking to, all you're doing is being self-serving. Yes. You want to lay down? I love you. That's all you are doing is being self-serving. And if that's what makes you happy, then have at it. But I just don't see the logic behind it, other than being self-gratifying.
Okay, well, see, this is what I'm talking about. This is why I think you have a mischaracterization of what logic is, because logic is just a means to an end, but the desired end can never be logical. Like, okay, there's nothing, like, if you want, if you for some crazy reason want, a bolstering headache, then you can go and take a 2x4 and smash it into your head, and that's completely logical. But if you don't want it, if you don't want a bolstering headache, then don't do that, because that's illogical. That logic is only a means to an end, and that's what I'm addressing. So when you say it's not logical in your perspective, you have to consider what the desired outcome is. And right. I wouldn't say it's completely self-serving, because there are a lot of people, at least and I don't want to just do it for me. I want to do it for other like-minded people who want to see people like Cy 10 get his shit shoved down his fucking throat. There are other people that want to see it, and I'm one of those people. I go on to things where I think Cy's getting challenged, and I watch them in hopes that other people will do that. So it's not even completely self-serving. It's just not to serve the opposition.
Right.
Well, can I throw in another point here? And I apologize if I'm repeating something somebody else said. I dropped out briefly, but I totally agree with your point about the kind of the loneliness and the personal satisfaction. There is an aspect of kind of sparring, like why do people do karate when you're basically boils down to you're punching and kicking each other. I mean, there is some satisfaction that comes from the joust itself. But in terms of, I think I want to highlight a distinction here in Donnie's point about, like, why do you do it? I'm going to agree as far as it goes with, if there's someone that I, say I ride the bus to work every day, and there's a guy that generally sits sort of near me, and we get in the chat sometime, and I find out he's a Christian and a creationist, and I get into a discussion with him and pick at that. For me to try to trot out some argumentation that's going to change his mind is truly a waste of my time. It wouldn't be enjoyable for him. It wouldn't be enjoyable for me. It just highlights how we're different people and disagreeable, and we should probably never go for a beer together because we just, disagree about too many important things. And that's too bad. That would be just a shame. But that's as an individual. I think we need to recognize that there's a legitimate, very well-intentioned movement to try to improve our countries, our societies, by giving people an alternative to the status quo. Hey, here's the Bible or whatever holy book you're from your culture, and this is the truth, and this is what everybody believes, so you have to believe it too. And I say that, I don't necessarily want to venture, I could, but I don't. I guess let me say it to you this way, Donnie, is except for, the purposes of what I'm telling you here, except whether or not you believe this to be true, this is what many people, myself included, believe, that the God belief itself brings a lot of potential of harm. That it doesn't help people be better thinkers or be better moral thinkers or better people.
If I may.
And with it, I'll wrap up here real quick. And also does bring the harm that you're going to sort of, that people who have the God belief firmly entrenched, get in with a group of people who encourage them to be strongly anti-science. I appreciate, Donnie, that you've said you don't fall into those traps, or inasmuch as you had been drawn into those traps before, you've pulled yourself out of them, and I respect that. But what I'm saying is that there's a belief amongst people who think it's important to present atheism as an alternative, that the God belief doesn't lend itself to making a person any better in any way other than what could be achieved through, other means, and actually is potentially dangerous.
At the same point, religion tends to be very tribal in that you're uniting people of the same views. But a lot of religion, a lot of the doctrines foster the concept of the other, the outsider. And in a lot of ways, this forms a lot of divisions within society. And I think some within the atheist community, I started off this way, are trying to bridge that gap and try and get people to understand that we have different viewpoints and maybe there's some compromise. And admittedly, after a while dealing with people that were the fundamentalists and the firebrands, I ended up abandoning that and becoming a little bit of a firebrand of my own right. But at the same point, it's that divisionism between them, that the lack of tolerance in other beliefs, and you must believe as I believe viewpoint, that really divides a lot of people within our society.
Right. See, now ultimately my thing is this, is that, you know, and thank you, Hog Tie, for basically saying what I said, but in a better way, because I'm very bad at that. You know, I mean, I think it's more towards the, you know, mentality that if you're trying to change somebody, you know, some of the more verbally abrasive, I should say, atheists that are out there that, I'll give an example. Cult of Dusty. He's a perfect example of how, in my opinion, not to try to tell someone that there's another way to think about it. I mean, he's verbally abusive. And in my opinion, and I've always felt this way, and this is why those YouTubers that are out there that actually want to educate do it that way. But once they pass over and bring it into a personal vendetta to belittle and belittle Christians just solely on the fact that they believe in something that the other person doesn't. You know, I mean, the whole argument about that God doesn't exist because there's no evidence of it. Like I said, I think on the last show, I was talking about the Amazing Atheist video about how if a friend of his died, a friend's loved one or whatever died, and that person's grieving, instead of just walking away and letting them have their grieving, he pretty much wants to say, well, there is no God, and the person you're grieving over is worm food. Who the fuck gives you the right to downsize someone because they want to believe that their loved one's in heaven?
I don't really know anyone that would actually do that.
Yeah, me neither.
But him doing that video is why I said that. I personally have never seen anybody do that. But it's not far-fetched to believe that there are some people out there that do.
There's a little bit of a flip side here. To get a little bit personal here, quite a number of years ago, my firstborn daughter died after 6 days.
Wow, sorry, man.
Now, being somebody that doesn't believe in all that, people sitting there rushing up to me and telling me, oh, God needed another angel, and they're in heaven now, don't worry, and all this other stuff, that wasn't consoling, and telling them, listen, just stop, I don't buy that, and then pushing it even further. You got to keep in mind, this is something that really can be said of either side of these arguments.
Oh, absolutely. No, absolutely could completely agree. When, in my view, see, I lost my dad in January, and he was one of my biggest, dearest role models. I mean, the way he lived his life is the reason why I am the man I am today. And if I would have had someone come up to me either way and just force themselves upon me, but because I'm a Christian, I do believe my Father is in heaven. You know, because I want to believe that. That is something that sin gives me comfort, because there's sure the hell ultimately none of us know until the day we die. I mean, that's just a fact. You know, yes, our bodies become, and it's only if you believe in the whole spirit thing and everything like that. But as for me, when I die is when I find out if God exists. My dad passes away. He knows if God exists.
And if there isn't one, you'll never know it.
Huh?
And if there isn't one, you'll never know it.
Exactly. You know, I've had my death experience. You know, some people dismiss it because they don't want to listen to my side of it. But, you know, in certain circles, I absolutely won't describe what it was like when I died in 97. You know, and everybody wants to bring up the whole, if your brain's not dead, you're not dead. Well, I don't give a shit about none of that scientific crap. I only explain what my experience was when I died. And so from my personal experience, I have reasons to believe God exists. And does that make me a wacky, retard, Kool-Aid drinker? No, that just means my personal experience should be valid because it's my personal experience. Just because it goes against other people's scientific explanation of it doesn't take away from my personal experience.
Yeah, everyone that has a personal experience of near-death experience, whatever the experience is based upon their own religious views or non-religious views. In my case, when I had my close shave, there was nothing there. Right.
And see that this is where I fall into your experience is your experience. You have every much validation in your experience than I do. There's you having no experience, spiritual or whatever, compared to mine. Mine's no different than yours. The only difference is our experience.
The way our brain interpreted the experience, yes.
Exactly. And I don't, and see, that's the part that people, I've been in thousands of discussions over this, but the truth is that who is anybody else to tell me my experience was not valid? And that's the problem. You have all these people that think they know everything, and that their explanation is the one true right. And it's not. You weren't there. You didn't experience what I experienced. I experienced what I experienced, and that's what I go off of. Yes, we can explain the scientific side of it, which I don't dismiss in the slightest, because I do believe that science is around us 24/7. We cannot avoid it. It's important to know that
ultimately, as humans, we are the culmination of all of our experiences. Now, whether or not all those experiences are accurately perceived is somewhat irrelevant because those experiences make us who we are.
Exactly. And see, and I'll be honest with you, Strife and Hogtie and now 13 Heathens, I appreciate your candor, because it just shows to me, this has given me more proof that there are more people out there that are willing to listen to someone. They may not agree, but we can discuss it as mature adults and not sit there and call each other names. And that's where I have a problem with certain atheists, is that they would rather name call instead of having a legitimate dialogue.
I have too many dialogues. My wife is has a degree in world religion and is not an atheist. She's a Christian.
See, and there you go. I mean, you get to have both sides of it. And see, my wife and I were both Christians, and the one stigma that really bugs me, and I said this before on the show, one of the stigmas that really bugs the crap out of me about certain atheists, and I had this experience last night with Wisdom Vendor. I was doing a documentary about the documentary I was broadcasting was The Facade of the American Dream, and it was the black's perspective of the history of slavery and what's going on nowadays. And he comes in, and I started expressing my viewpoint of the documentary, that part, and he says, "Well, if you're a Christian, you should be agreeing with slavery." Absolutely fucking not. There's not a Christian I know that agrees with slavery.
You do understand where that argument comes from?
Yes, I know why it comes up, because it's in the Bible, and I understand why I get under fire for this. But the point I was making is that he wanted to change the conversation into a religious debate. And the thing is that I have a history with Wisdom Vendor. He constantly tries to question my Christianity. Just because I don't agree with slavery doesn't change the fact that I'm a Christian. And here's why I led to this. We had my last show on Blog TV. I did a 7-hour show, and the last 3 hours I got him and his girlfriend and a friend of mine named Crom on a Skype call. And the stigma that I can't stand is when atheists tell me, because I'm a Christian, I indoctrinate my children. and the rest of the guys know this about me, I have 2 atheist children and 2 Christian children. Why? Because I give my children all the information and let them make the conscious decision. Okay, so when it comes to all Christians are indoctrinating their children and making them brainwashed and all this crap, that's a bunch of crap. There are fundamentals out there that do that, and I don't argue that. But to say all Christians are this way is wrong.
Well, to say all of that is one way or another is wrong. I'd agree with you on that.
And that's the reason why I stand by what I've always said is that, get to know the person. I did a video on YouTube on my channel about a response to all babies are atheists or something like that. Guy from Canada. He was talking about how, because at that time I considered myself a moderate Christian. And because the description that I was given, it makes sense. But the atheist was saying that all moderates are political and all moderates are fundamentalists, and I'm like, I that was the straw that broke the camel's back for me, and
all bald people wish they had hair. Yes.
Yes, I'm one. Oh, you can't see.
I'm not. I actually shaved mine because I was tired of balding.
yeah, me too. I kept on being called Krusty the Clown and Homer Simpson, so I do the Mr. Clean. But anyways, I get to the point where I get tired of people saying, it's just like me, it's unfair for me to say that all atheists are the same. Because we're individuals. And in the documentary, or not documentary, but the video I did, I stated, not all of us are the same. Get to know the individual first. And if you disagree with their religious beliefs or their doctrine or their belief structure, then you can disagree on that level, but you can still communicate on a non-religious level. I've been educating myself, just so you guys know. I've been educating myself on documentaries as of late because I have a current leather project that I have to do. And I'll tell you, I watched a documentary that was, because I've been doing nothing but atheist documentaries, like The God Illusion. I watched that. I watched the Iron Raw, the creationist falsehoods.
It's a good series.
It is. It really is. If he took away took away his opinion about Christians, it would be a great educator. Okay, but my thing is that so finally I watched the documentary last night or the other night. That's an hour and 53 minutes. Keep in mind, everybody, I personally do not understand a lot of scientific jargon. Okay, only because I'm not in that field. Okay. But I watched this documentary just because I felt that it was a necessity. And this scientific documentary was called, give me a second, I'll tell you the exact title.
Should be in your YouTube history.
Huh? No, I don't do, I'm looking on, I downloaded it so I could watch it without interruptions. It's called The Signs of God's Existence. And it was solely about astrophysicists. It had the guy that debated Richard Dawkins in Oxford, John something or another.
John Lennox.
Yeah, John
Lennox.
Yeah, I watched it. It had him in there. It had legitimate scientific facts.
But the thing that I don't understand though is science can never point to God.
Well, it's deeper because Lennox, for example, is a philosopher. We're not talking a strict scientist, and a lot of the scientists that they tend to put forward in those kind of documentaries are generally talking outside of their field.
Okay.
Now, I'd have to look at the documentary to get specific on this, so I'm not simply knocking it. But this is something you come up with a lot, and there's a certain presupposition that comes with a lot of these. Science itself is not atheistic. Science really, at its
Science
core,
does not ask the question about God. I think
it can't comment on it. It's because, if you start with the presupposition of God, you can't get anywhere.
It's a metaphysical question. It's not it's not a naturalistic question.
Okay, now let me give you some quotes that were given in this documentary. Okay, Sir Arthur Eddington from 1882 to 1944, he was considered to be one of the most influential astrophysicists of the 20th century.
What's his name?
Sir Arthur Eddington. Eddington.
Okay, wait.
Hang
that
on.
on Wiki too.
And I'll give you the book this quote was given. It's called The Expanding Universe, page 178.
I know this quote. In fact, I know the rest of it. Why don't you read the part that they mined out of it, and I'll tell you the rest.
Yeah, there's a secondary thing here, which is you're talking about somebody that passed in 44, and astrophysics has, to say the least, come a long way. You know, this was before the...
Okay, well, and I knew someone would bring that part up, and I've got a current person, George C. Greenstein, professor of astrophysics at University Amherst, Massachusetts, United States. And this is as of 2002. But, and of course, you know, the one thing that I am taking in perspective is that I'm not any way, shape, or form taking away from the rest of what's said in a supposed quote in a documentary. Okay, I'm just making the fact that they made this statement. Okay, but Eddington said the beginning of the universe seems to present insuperable difficulties unless we agree to look on into as frankly supernatural. You know, so but the most recent comment that was given, that was by George S. Greenstein, astrophysicist, like I said before.
Yes.
As we survey all the evidence, the thought instinctively arises that some supernatural agency, or rather agency, must be involved. Is it possible that suddenly, without intending to, we have stumbled upon scientific proof of the existence of a supreme being? Was it God who stepped in and now prevently crafted the cosmos for our benefit? Show me God, page 233. And of course, Galileo, which was a long time ago.
Hang on, if I may. I don't understand how you get from point A to point B.
And I don't understand where you're going.
I mean,
Can we move on? Can you? What's your point, Donald? No offense.
The point I'm saying is that, you know, there's always a comment that I always hear from some atheists, not all atheists, but the comment that because you're a Christian, you lack education, and there are Christian scientists.
Oh,
and this
wouldn't argue with that. You could have just made the point. We would have agreed with you.
Yeah, there have been Christian scientists, okay, but that does not.
But because they have
But if you use that as an argument, saying, oh well, there has been, you know, all the major sciences have been Christians. That's an argument I've heard on YouTube a lot, which is bullshit.
Well, no, I've never said that.
No, I know, but if you use it like that, that's, you know.
Right, no, but see, my point, I guess I'm more towards
If I can cut in for 1 second.
Mm-hmm.
I know that there are some atheists that will present the claim that all Christians are stupid. I recently had a Christian coming to my channel, and I'm not going to say that. I'll leave that out. But regardless, was coming in and basically saying that all atheists are stupid. We have this on both sides.
Of course.
Is that they're really, even if you look at stupid as being a quantifiable thing, it's kind of silly, because you can take somebody and try and have 18 different conversations in which they know nothing, but they can turn around and have 18 conversations with you, and of which you know nothing.
Right.
It's kind of a weird measure, but whether it be in the field of science or medicine or this and that, yeah, there's going to be people of all flavors in there, regardless of what belief structure they may come from.
Right.
I mean, head of the Human Genome Project, and, you know, he's looked at the evidence. He's been there, so to speak, right inside the genome. He's also said, you know, there's no way we didn't evolve from a common ancestor as the apes based upon his research into genetics. But at the same point, he is still a Christian.
Mhm.
Wait. You said there's. What'd you say? That there's no evidence that we evolved from apes?
No, that there's no evidence that we didn't. There's no way we.
I must have misheard.
If I didn't say that correctly, excuse me.
Yeah,
But yeah,
I think you said we didn't.
I might have said it backwards. Sorry, but regardless, it's clear that we both evolved from a common ancestor, according to his own research. Yet at the same point, this has not challenged him in his Christianity. Francis Collins, I believe it is.
Yeah. Although I would say this as a sort of a rebuttal to this claim from especially the evangelical Christians, the creationists, that let's take a look at how they take a census, right? They will say, oh, well, a third of the world's population is Christian. And some very, very smart people are Christian. Francis Collins, head of the Human Genome Project. My supervisor from grad school, by the way, a Christian. Those, very, very intelligent people. And there are a lot of other examples. But if I were to say, look, I know a guy who's a Christian, and he's a Catholic, and he believes in evolution, but that's not a real Christian. So they'll count people like Francis Collins as a Christian when they want to bolster their numbers on, at least in terms of IQ points. But when it comes down to actually discussing what those guys believe, they'll also turn around and say, well, yeah, but that's not a real Christian.
But I mean, really what it comes down to is there are people that believe, and not to offend the Christian in the group, but there are people that are very intelligent.
You can call me Don.
Don, thank you. I can't. Thank you, Don.
That's right. I got to interrupt there. That is funny, though, because if he were black and you just did that, you just kept, every time you talked to him, you said, well, the black guy that's here.
I'm about to deliberately push one of those buttons that gets a lot of Christians frustrated, which is why I had to say that.
Not me.
Okay, go.
There are really intelligent people out there that believe in ghosts and go looking for them. There are really intelligent people out there, and some scientists that believe in Bigfoot and go looking for it.
And aliens.
Or aliens visiting Earth, mind you. I'm not.
Yes.
Are there?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
What do you consider intelligence?
What a person believes and how intelligent they are or what their field is completely irrelevant.
I mean, intelligence could be by how believable what they say is could make them seem intelligent.
No, that's simply presentation. That's just gift of gab, yeah.
Well, I'll say this about, and I know we're kind of moving away from saying things like, all X's are Y. All Christians are stupid. All atheists are in their sin and all that other stuff. But I will say this, and it's, I'll just say it. All creationists are uninformed, unknowledgeable about the field of science known as evolution. And I say that, and obviously that's one of those statements. It's a lot like saying, you can't find a creationist who actually understands evolution. It's a lot like saying, you can't find a molecule of gold in Alaska. I don't know that for a fact. But I can tell you, I've seen enough of them, enough of their videos and their talks and read their papers and that sort of thing. And just in the search, like I'm waiting. I've seen some creationists that are intelligent fellows, but they might be able to pass school and read properly and even get a PhD. But I've never seen a creationist who is able to explain, to understand even at a high school level the principles of evolution. And I'm not saying that you have to believe in it. I mean, like obviously any of you guys could explain the basic plot behind Star Wars. Doesn't really mean you believe in Wookiees. I have a pretty decent grasp of Christian theology. I wouldn't say I'm, the best in the world, but I mean, I certainly get the story that they're pitching. I even said the thing. I understand the distinction between the resurrection of Christ versus the resuscitation of Lazarus. So I mean, I understand these things, but it doesn't mean that I believe them. And yet, I have never met or seen or even heard of a creationist who understands evolution at even a basic level.
I really feel the need to disagree. Yeah, I have to side with you on that one. I think a lot of these people that, especially your young Earth creationist types, have so much invested in what they claim to believe, and I'm actually going to put it as claim to believe in this case, because there is a lot of cognitive dissonance even in them to a degree, and the more you fan the fire of that cognitive dissonance, the more they fight back and go to more pages and look for more to disprove you, because they have so much invested in those beliefs that they can't sit there and take a step back and say, wait a minute, what if I'm wrong about this or that? Because, one thing being not entirely the way they believed it to be does not invalidate the entire viewpoint. I got in a discussion with my wife, who I said a while ago has her degree in world religion and is a Christian. And I turned to her one day and I said, if you were to find out tomorrow that Jesus never really existed, what would it change? And for her, it would change nothing, because for her, it's the message, it's the meaning, it's those lessons that are ultimately what's important. Whether he lived or not isn't even completely relative. It's about the message.
Exactly, and that's the one point that I've made evident with me, is that a lot of people, they want to argue the fact, well, if you're a Christian, you need to take the Bible literally. No, I don't. I just use that as a learning tool.
Well, I mean, like, for people like William Lane Craig and such, they use that this person existed and rose from the dead as an argument, supposedly, to say, hey, the Christianity is true because of this little...
Right, there's always the opposite side of the scale, but the what I try to make aware is that there are Christians that don't sit there and look at the Bible. I mean, I like I've said before in the past, I'll say it again now. I don't believe that there were 900-year-old men and talking burning bushes and stuff like that. So I question the Bible, and I look at it from the parables and the learning tools. I don't believe that you need the Bible for morality, but it helps for those who can't grasp the
nuances of human interaction.
Yeah. I mean, and I'll be the first one to admit it. When I started traveling when I was 18 years old, I've interacted with millions of people, and when I say that there are thousands, not a small minority, but thousands of Christians that look at Christianity the same way I do, you can take it or leave it. I mean, because I know what I did in my life. And I know there are thousands of people that don't sit there and go, well, I'm not going to take my child to the hospital. God's going to heal her. No. It's a known fact that if you don't take your kid to the doctor, it's going to die. I mean,
it's also a known fact that you shouldn't let Rick Perry pray for anything.
Right. Or I think that's what happened here in Reno. We've had the driest seasons in the last 2 years, and people say, well, let's pray for rain. You know what? It don't work. I mean. Well,
yeah. See, and then I don't see much importance on identifying yourself as a Christian. I don't see much relevance to that. I think I touched on that a little bit earlier with you, Dom. I don't really see the importance of identifying yourself as a Christian if you separate yourself from all these other Christians. But the point I'd like to bring up, and this is something that I despise about some moderates. I'm not saying I don't have any problems with you, because
I know.
But some moderates, the things I despise is that I think Rats is pretty moderate. Would we all agree that Rats is pretty moderate? Because I don't think
I don't even know if I would even categorize. I don't even know what the hell to categorize.
He's not a fundamentalist, right?
Well, no.
Johanan Rats.
Oh, I don't know him, so I can't tell you.
We know who he is, right? Ogtai and 13 Islands.
Oh, yeah. No clue, but doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Okay, well, the thing I despise about him is there are some things that I'll question him on a bunch of things, and he'll understand my questions, and he won't be able to answer them. And he'll say that they're rational questions to have, and he'll admit that he doesn't have an answer to them. And then he'll turn around, and I'll ask him something like, okay, but do you believe I'm going to hell? And then he'll say, well, yeah, but he'll try not to say it in so many words because that sounds fucked up, right? It sounds fucked up to say someone who has an understandable point of view is going to be tortured forever, right? And so I guess the important thing about identifying with a theology, and like you said your wife, if Jesus didn't exist, if it was discovered that Jesus didn't exist, it wouldn't change a damn thing. Well, I mean, I think it matters if you believe in like a concept of like hell and a concept of other things like that, and you believe people are going to be tortured, infinitely for very reasonable questions and admittance of agnosticism. I think that if anything, that's a disgusting thing to entertain the idea that because someone has a reasonable position, they'll suffer an eternity.
Well, actually, if you've studied the text well enough, hell itself is really something that wasn't introduced until the character of Jesus. Prior to that, you simply had Sheol, and they would refer to people going down to Sheol, and Sheol actually was a trash heap on the outside of town. If you go by the older text and understand the source material more so, the actual place, hell, as an actual destination, that didn't come till much later.
I think until the Greeks took over the Jewish culture.
Right, but what I'm saying is that if you're a moderate, if hell, I think a paramount part of your belief, or like whether or not I respect your belief is whether or not you believe in hell. I think that's
right.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you're right about that too. The thing that it doesn't so much even matter, and I take your point about what's in the text, because you're right about that that sometimes Christians read the Bible and they don't see how things actually I was going to say evolved, I'll say changed, but you know what I mean, as how there are gradual changes in things like the nature of God himself. The God character is clearly kind of an amalgam of several different gods, and it changes over. But it doesn't matter, because the point is, when you discuss hell as a concept, you're going to be talking with somebody who, has the sort of grasp of the literature that you do, and says, well, actually, there was, the ancient Hebrew concept, and then, or you're going to talk to somebody who says, oh no, hell is permanent, and your time in hell is forever, and you're going to burn forever. Then you're going to talk to the annihilationists who say that that hell itself is eternal, but your time in hell is matched to the brevity of your sins, and things like that. And it really doesn't much matter what the text says at the end of the day, because it comes down to sort of picking up what the other person's saying, and then seeing whether
it's a matter of what they believe, not what the actual text is.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a shame that you need that.
On that note, how about in the last 10 minutes, which we have, let's say, where do you think the YouTube community is going to go in the future? And that's the closing statement you'll have, okay?
I can pick that up because in a way it kind of helps me thread together what was saying at the beginning, because I realized after I'd said it, you guys were talking, that I don't certainly intend to declare the YouTube discussions and the YouTube atheist community is dead. And in fact, all the things I was complaining about, how these people would flag their channels down, and the the creationists just keep rolling right along with their dumbass videos, and the big channels aren't making their good science education videos. There's no part of that should be taken as sort of saying, well, give up on it. There's not much more to be done. I do sympathize with the video makers of 2013, that you can go and look and say, well, Thunderfoot said this 4 years ago, and Aaron Ross said this 3 years ago, and there's nothing new to be said. But I wouldn't be discouraged by that. I think that there is. I'm also picking up on Donnie's point here. You're not trying to change individuals' mind. You're not trying to convince Nephilim Free that he's wrong, or the new version of Nephilim Free, the Psi 10s of the world. You're not going to convince them that they're wrong. The point is keep that discussion moving forward. I think that people who are interested and have the energy and the time to make videos now should keep doing it and will keep doing it. And just look, even though that a lot of the arguments have been made, the arguments have been made before the arguments were made. I mean, before there was YouTube, there were all these web page forums, and before that there was Usenet, and before that there was bulletin board systems like this, and before that they were, however, they used to argue with each other when there weren't computers. Just keep the discussion going. Like, if you keep watching the videos, find ways to mock and deride or educate or whatever it is that keeps you enthused. I know I am seeing a bunch of new channels coming up, and we can all sort of say, where's the new Thunderfoot? Well, there doesn't have to be a new Thunderfoot. You guys should be producing content and have a heck of a bunch of fun doing it.
Okay, 13 even.
I don't think we heard you, Strife.
13 even.
Sorry, was muted. A while ago, I had, and this is part of a closing comment, so bear with me for a moment. I had a Christian come into my channel and was very upset at the message and challenged me and said to me, well, know that there are some people that this and went through this whole thing. And I told him, I don't have a problem with your faith. That's not the issue I have. The problem I have is that there are so many that are just following it dogmatically. And it's my view that a faith, any faith, that is not questioned is not true faith. It's not really yours. It's something borrowed. And people need to make it their own. And I think only through the kind of discussions we have, through both and atheist community, through those that are willing to listen, not those that are the firebrands yelling and screaming at each other, but those that are really able to listen, that this is where we find, whether it be common ground or truth in one's own belief, whatever they may be. It is only through investigating our own faith and that of others that we find personal, no matter what that may be. And that's it for me.
Donald?
Yeah. Well, my thought on this is that, I think that, we've got a lot of arguments in the both sides of the aisle when it comes to this argument, but ultimately YouTube will not go away for the simple fact there's too many stupid people out there who would rather fucking break their leg on a skateboard and broadcast it and funny videos and cats being funny and all these other things to really care if it's going to go up or down. What we have to do as a society is, and I believe this on YouTube as well, have that open dialogue, respect one another. Once you have the respect for the person, not the belief structure, not the facts or figures, but the person itself, is the only way that we will advance, even on the, I say this all the time just in society, but on YouTube, until we start getting past the I'm right, you're wrong crap and start caring about one another and how to educate each other. I mean, it's one thing to educate a philosophy, and it's another educating, like, I respect more of Aaron Ra's educational videos and Thunderfoot's educational videos that I'll sit down and watch if it's 3 hours long because it's educational. But once you start interjecting your personal feelings on it, I lose interest. So I think the more people do the videos, because I do videos too, I haven't done one in a while, but I just give my 2 cents. If someone wants to watch it, have at it. If they want to argue with me over how they feel and my perspective, that's, again, their choice to do so. So I think that we just need to respect one another and start, giving a shit that someone out there needs to be educated, either side of the spectrum. So we need to, for those of, and I can talk shit because 5 years ago I was a staunch creationist and someone that hated the homosexual community and who never understood evolution and hated the fact that that people really fight over the universe. Who gives a shit how long the fucking universe was around? We're here. We're in the now. We need to worry about advancing our society. Not playing God, but advancing our society. And I use that word God loosely, not as in to offend. But, we need to care about bettering our own societies. Civilization is on the decline because we're so... There was a movie, and it's a joke movie, so I'm not trying to equate it to reality. Yes. And it's the way of the world that we're going right now until we start giving a shit about one another. And if you haven't seen it, it's a great fucking movie to watch. It's funny as hell.
13 more years, it's going to be a fucking documentary.
Yeah.
I know, I agree. It's funny and it's prophetic, and yeah, it will be a documentary.
As far as the YouTube community goes, as far as I'm concerned, I enjoy the content uploads. I enjoy refreshing new thoughts on arguments, and that's why I stay in it. And then I try to keep my ideas fresh, and I I enjoy different perspectives because even if you have a similar argument, like say the ontological argument or something, I enjoy having to strain my brain to think of another way to refute it. So I don't know. To me, at least it's being discussed, and at least the ideas are getting out there. Unfortunately, the atheist God situation, the atheist Christian or atheist religion situation is not as big as I'd hope it to be. But I mean, you could interpret that as a good thing. I mean, you could interpret that as that it's kind of fading into the mist about how important it is socially, right? Because, like you said, most people are looking up cat videos or stupid people, and that to me shows that maybe this kind of stuff, these kind of philosophical ideas are not important, and that could be interpreted either way, like a good thing or a bad thing. But to me, I'm just happy to be able to get my ideas out there and have an open forum for criticism for them. You know what I mean? So as far as it going anywhere, I'm not looking forward to anything, but I'm also not worried about anything. So that's my take on it.
Well, I would have to say, very interesting discussion about the YouTube community, and I would think that seems like, which I don't like, atheist YouTubers who are more prominent, like Amazing Atheist, etc. Their channels are becoming more and less about education and more about just whatever the hell they want, which doesn't seem to be a good purpose anymore. And that's all I have to say. And tune in for the after show in about 10 minutes. We'll be back. So tune in about 9:20 Eastern. Signing off.
All right, peace out, Strife. I'm gonna go.
Okay.